and then you repeat. And that's it. So any questions? So, yeah. So, a lot of times, it seems, so a lot of times it seems, that's a basic outline of what we're doing. But I guess, of course, things always don't go to plan. But, as my dad has been emphasizing, the one takeaway I've had from this trip is that in every single country I've been to, I've had people just completely go out of their way to show me hospitality and kindness. Every single country I can tell you different stories. But fortunately, or unfortunately, I don't know, I'm not going to go through every country. I'll just hit some of the highlights, okay? And just go through a few of the different countries and just talk about, tell some stories about the people who really made this trip special. So the first country we'll head to is India, okay? I start with the story for two reasons. First off, it was one of the first countries I went to, and second off, people always ask me, Luke, what's the best food you've ever had? And it was in India when this story happened, right? So here's a picture of me cycling, having a good day, cycling some more, and it was one of the first few weeks we were there. We were cycling along, and this guy around the countryside, he waves us over very vigorously. And my dad and I were together at this point. We both stop, and we go over there to this guy, and at this point, we're just thinking he's going to want a picture with us. So we thought, some days in India, we would go, every 5 miles, someone would stop and ask for a picture with us. So that's what my dad and I were thinking when this guy originally stopped. But it turned out that in this village, it was a harvest celebration. It was, it was equivalent to our Thanksgiving. And this guy saw us and was like, he saw us traveling through and thought, these guys have to come to this celebration, And so he waves us over, and before we know it, we're having this giant feast of, these curries that, this curry master had woken up at 5 a.m. and had started cooking. And, having this dessert of this sticky rice and brown sugar. Here's the family that invited us in. And, to me, I think, if it was here, it was Thanksgiving, and if I was, at my house and I saw someone cycling by, would I, wave him over, this random stranger invite us to this, this big holiday we have? To me, I think no, but, here, they just, without a question, they were so excited to have us there. So that was, an incredibly positive experience in India, and I can tell you many more, but we'll move on to a new country, which is Myanmar. Okay, so here I've got a little map, doing better for this one. Hopefully, to Myanmar, right there in the bottom right corner. Now this was after we had been cycling Thailand. So, as my dad said, we wanted to fly from India to we wanted to cycle from India to Myanmar, but we couldn't, so we flew to Thailand. So first we cycled Thailand, and one thing you hear from every cyclist you meet in Thailand is the key is you want to go to monasteries, these Buddhist monasteries, and you show up and you can ask the monks, and the monks will often say, give you a spot to, you can ask them to camp in the monastery. Everyone you're meeting is like, oh yeah, all you have to do is go to the monastery, and they'll take you to a corner, and you can set up a tent, and it's, no problem. So this was kind of the mindset my dad and I had about, Thailand, and, Myanmar was very similar, was our understanding, because, there's a lot of Buddhist monasteries there. So when my dad and I got to Myanmar, we had this plan, if we find a monastery, we'll be able to, go there, find somebody and ask if we can set up a tent somewhere. And so that's what we did, right? So this was maybe the second or third day we're cycling through Myanmar, and we find this ginormous monastery. And it was dozens and dozens of buildings in this monastery. There's hundreds of monks. And, we're cycling through, and, we're trying to ask people, if there's somewhere where we can put our tent for the night. But everyone, no one's speaking English, everyone's pointing down a different road, and There's dozens of buildings here. But so finally, after about 30 minutes, we finally find the guy who speaks English. The one monk there who speaks English, and he looks at us and he says, of course you guys can stay here. We ask him, is it okay if, we're just trying to find a place to camp? And the guy's like, of course. You guys are more than welcome to stay here. And then he says, but you got to follow our rules. And we're like, okay, no problem. It says, rule number 1, no drugs, no alcohol, and the hard part, no caffeine. And we're like, okay, we can do no coffee in the morning. It's okay, we'll stay. And then he says, and no eating after noon. So after 12 o'clock p.m., you guys can't eat. I'm like, okay, that's no problem, We didn't, it was kind of late anyways. We just wanted to go to sleep, so it wasn't a big deal. And then he says, and the last rule is you have to meditate with us. And I was like, okay, I can do meditation, right? It was in the evening. It's like 7 o'clock at night. We think, all right, this guy will meditate for 30 minutes, and then he'll give us, then we can find a place to sleep. Okay. So he takes us into this room, and he gives us a 5-minute lesson on how to meditate. And, he tells us how to sit, tells us, how to breathe. Okay, and then he looks at us and he says, okay, let's start meditating. And this guy becomes a stone wall. He starts meditating perfectly. And my dad and I, were expected to join in. So we start meditating, both of us think, all right, we're going to do 30 minutes maybe. 30 minutes pass, nothing happens. It turns out it was 3 hours. We were in this room, completely silent, meditating. And I think it was at the 2-hour mark, right? So this guy, he's still. He doesn't move at all. He's just sitting on the ground, meditating. My dad are sitting, constantly fidgeting. And I think at the 2-hour mark, my dad, he's 60 years old. His back is killing him. So he's like, he thinks to himself, the monk is sitting there, his eyes are closed. My dad's thinking, this guy, he's either A, asleep, or B, he's so deep in his meditation, he's not going to mind if I lay down. So he goes ahead and he lays down. And the second he hits the floor, the monk doesn't open his eyes. He says, you must sit up.
Oh my.
So my dad bolts up. So that was our experience. That lasted, I think, about 7:30 until 10:30 at night. And finally the monk, 3 hours, he stands up, looks at us, and he goes and gets these bamboo mats. And he says, you guys can sleep on these bamboo mats. And, so then my dad, we're getting ready to go to sleep, we're getting comfy. And then he, comes back and he says, all right, we get up at 3:30 a.m., we start meditating at 4. So then he goes to sleep. He wakes us up at 3:30, and then at 4 till, once again, 7 a.m., 3 hours, we're in the room, once again meditating. And finally we go to breakfast. We come back from breakfast, and lo and behold, the monk is meditating. So my dad and I would go up to him and we say, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And we get back on our bikes and continue. But I think, what's interesting to me is, I think here in the U.S., if I were to show up to some, big church, randomly, knock on some doors, I'm not confident they would say, yeah, of course, yeah, come on in, we'll give you a room. But, here, we showed up, uninvited, unannounced, and this guy, he gives us a lesson on meditation, a short one, 5 minutes, but he gives us this lesson, and he takes us into his, his daily routine and shows us what his life is like. So I think, for that, just an example of, generosity out there. So here is a picture of the Myanmar countryside, another one. And here's the entrance of the monastery we entered. Okay, so the next country I'll talk about then is Mongolia. Mongolia, of course, is it's just north of China. And so it's just north of China. And what's interesting about Mongolia is it's just pretty much every day, it's just these huge, wide open expanses, right? So you'll go into maybe a little town, and then once you leave that town, it's for the next week, this is what you're seeing. You're not seeing you're not seeing any villages or anything. What you are seeing is you'll see these yurts all about, and they're nomad.